Hey everybody, and welcome to a special Thanksgiving edition of Bob Appetit. Today we're going to be doing one of my favorite quick, creamy, simple takes on mashed potatoes, Irish champ. This dish uses scallions to bring out a bright freshness in it while using a lot of butter to make sure that it's nice and creamy. So let's learn about that on Bob Appetit. For this recipe, we're going to be using 2 pounds of peeled and quartered potatoes, 4 to 5 stalks of scallions, thinly sliced. I know it seems like a lot, but you want that for the fresh flavor. 1 cup of whole milk, 4 tablespoons of butter, plus some extra to serve at the table, 1 raw egg, and salt and white pepper to taste. To start this recipe, we're going to take our 2 pounds of peeled and quartered potatoes, and we're going to be adding them to a pot and filling it up with water to about 1 inch over the top. When you're doing this, you want to leave your potatoes nice and big so that after they're done boiling, the center of them is still a little firm, which is going to give more texture to your mashed potatoes instead of leaving them too mushy. Feel free to move around the potatoes as necessary to take up a little bit less space in there. And then bring it to a boil. Much like any good starch, be it pasta, potatoes, or rice, we're gonna add some salt to the water so that it flavors the potatoes as they cook. Let those potatoes boil for 20 minutes, and while that's happening, we're gonna infuse our milk, butter, and scallions. So take your cup of milk, pour it into a small saucepan, add in your 4 tablespoons of butter, or more, potentially, and your scallions. Now, your scallions don't have to be perfect. They can be a more rustic shape or big or small. You just want them to not really get much bigger than half an inch, but otherwise, don't try to strive for perfection on this. Let these come to a simmer on medium low. Don't rush it though, because you don't want to burn the milk. You just want to get it up to simmering. Interesting thing about this dish is that it's actually a sister dish to Colcannon, which is a more Southern Ireland dish that uses potatoes, but also uses either cabbage or in some recipes kale. Instead, in Northern Ireland, they tend to use more of the scallion base, which is champ. It's starting to simmer. We're gonna go ahead and add a pinch of salt and some white pepper. Now, similar to when you do a bechamel, we're using white pepper here so that black flecks don't show up in our final product. Give it a quick stir, check that the bottom is not burning. It's been simmering for 2 minutes. I'm going to turn off the heat and cover it with a lid. Make sure to let these rest for at least 5 minutes, more if you have time, but you wanna make sure that those flavors have a time to come together and really sort of, It's been 20 minutes. Let's test to see if our potatoes are done. The fork slides in easily. Once it gets to about the center, you can feel a little bit more firmness, but it's done throughout. We're gonna turn the burner off and drain the potatoes. Add your potatoes back into the same pan and turn it on low heat for about 2 minutes. You want to dry the moisture out of these potatoes. At this point, you can also add a little bit of salt and pepper to help infuse the flavor of salt and pepper. Just add salt and pepper. The next thing we're going to do is take half of our milk, pour it into the potatoes, and mash it together. You don't want this process to be fast because you're simultaneously trying to let everything cool down while you're mixing it together. If you were to just dump it in there and start mashing, it'd still be really hot and it wouldn't mix well. To be honest with you, I used to have just a fork doing this, and you can, but once I got an actual potato masher, life changer. And at this point, feel free to add salt and pepper to taste. Now, this last part is your choice, but in some versions of this, in the way that I learned it, add your raw egg in and stir it in with a fork. This will really bring it together and add a nice little mwah to it. This process does take a little bit of learning though, because if you add it in too soon, you run the risk similar to a carbonara where you're gonna get a lot of streaks of cooked egg. You don't want that. You want this to be just cool enough so that you're not gonna get that. So about 4 to 5 minutes after you started mixing and mashing. Look at that before and after the egg. You can just see how much it adds a creaminess to it, that emulsification of potatoes. Oh, let's sneak a taste. Maybe add a little bit more salt and pepper. In 20 minutes, 25 if you include prep work and everything, these mashed potatoes come together like that. Simple and easy. Put a scoop of the potatoes into your dish and then add a divot on the inside. You should always serve the potatoes with a little bit of melted butter, at least a tablespoon or two. This is so that the person eating can pour it in as they see fit. And believe me, they'll see fit. Buttery, creamy. If you use the egg, it brings it all together in this nice, silky texture. I love using this dish. And I know some of you might be saying that this is a lot of butter. Well, let me tell you something. You should look inside that packet of Philadelphia cream cheese you're adding in there, Grandma. That's a lot of calories too, you know. Either way, this is a fast, simple, easy Thanksgiving dish. Let me know down in the comments below what kind of mashed potatoes you use for Thanksgiving. And as always, make sure to click the like button, subscribe to the channel for more awesome episodes like this one. And if you want to check out more of my recipes, go to bobappetitrecipes.com. All right, we'll catch you later on Bob Appetit.